There is a quiet moment that many people experience. It doesn't come with sadness. It doesn't come with anger. It comes with tiredness. A deep tiredness. Not the kind that sleep can fix. Not the kind that rest can solve. You wake up and you already feel heavy. Nothing is wrong. But nothing feels right either. You go through your day. You do what you are supposed to do. And still, something inside you feels tight. This tiredness often has one hidden cause. You care too much. You care about what people think. You care about how you are seen. You care about explaining yourself. You care about being enough. Caring feels like a good thing. And sometimes it is. But caring too much slowly drains you. Because your mind never rests. It keeps watching. It keeps adjusting. It keeps worrying. You replay conversations in your head. You wonder if you said the right thing. You question your choices. Even silence feels loud. Many people think this is just how life is. They believe being tired is the price of being responsible. But that is not true. You are not tired because life is hard. You are tired because you are holding on to too many things that are not yours to carry. Other people's expectations, other people's emotions, other people's opinions. You carry them quietly, without complaining, and slowly your inner space disappears. Peace does not disappear suddenly. It fades. It fades when you say yes while your body wants to say no. It fades when you explain yourself to people who are not listening. It fades when you stay alert all the time. The moment life starts to change is not when you fight harder. It is when you soften, when you stop caring about things that steal your energy. This does not mean you stop being kind. It means you stop being empty. Caring less is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming gentle with yourself. Gentle people know when to let go. They know not every thought deserves attention. Not every emotion needs action. Not every situation needs a response. When you stop reacting to everything, your mind begins to slow down. And when the mind slows down, you can finally hear yourself, your real needs, your real limits. You realize how often you push yourself just to meet invisible standards. Standards no one asked for. Standards no one will reward. You begin to see that much of your exhaustion comes from trying to be understood, trying to be accepted, trying to be seen in a certain way. But being understood by everyone is not possible, and trying to be will keep you tired forever. Some people will never see you clearly, not because you failed, but because they see the world through their own pain. When you accept this, something relaxes inside you. Your shoulders drop. Your breathing becomes slower. You stop explaining your silence. You stop justifying your boundaries. You allow yourself to be quiet. Quiet is not empty. Quiet is space. Space for rest. Space for clarity. Space for healing. This is where true rest begins. Not when you escape life, but when you stop fighting it. Rest is not always sleep. Sometimes, rest is simply not caring about proving your worth, not caring about being perfect, not caring about keeping up. You begin to choose simplicity, fewer reactions, fewer expectations, fewer emotional battles. Your life does not become smaller, it becomes lighter. You start noticing how peaceful it feels to let things pass, to let words fall without picking them up, to let silence stay without filling it. This is not weakness. This is emotional maturity. Strong people do not carry everything. They know what to hold and what to release. They understand that their energy is limited, and they protect it with care. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to respond immediately. You don't need to explain who you are. Who you are will be felt by those who are meant to feel it. The rest can drift away. And that is okay. When you stop caring about what drifts away, you have more space for what stays. This is the beginning of a slower life, a softer mind, a quieter heart. In the next part, we will talk about how to practice this in daily life, how to slowly care less without guilt, how to protect your peace in a noisy world. I'll talk more about this in the full video. Caring less is not something you decide once. It is something you practice gently every day, especially on days when life feels loud. The first practice is learning to pause before responding. Not every message needs an answer right away. Not every emotion needs to be expressed. When something triggers you, pause. Take one breath. Then ask yourself, do I need to carry this? Most of the time, the answer is no. This pause is a form of kindness. It gives your nervous system a chance to settle. It tells your body that you are safe. The second practice is releasing the need to be emotionally available all the time. You are allowed to be unavailable, unavailable to drama, unavailable to pressure, unavailable to conversations that drain you. Being available to everyone means being absent from yourself. So choose wisely. Save your energy for moments that truly matter. The third practice is allowing silence without guilt. Silence does not mean you don't care. It means you care enough to protect your inner space. You don't need to fill gaps with words. You don't need to explain every pause. Sometimes silence is the most honest response. When you let silence exist, you feel your body relax. Your jaw softens. Your shoulders drop. Your breath slows down. This is your system returning to balance. The fourth practice is noticing when you are trying to control outcomes. You plan conversations in advance. You imagine reactions. You prepare explanations. This is the mind seeking safety. But control often creates more tension. Life becomes lighter when you allow uncertainty. When you let conversations unfold naturally. When you accept that not everything will go as planned. Peace grows in acceptance. The fifth practice is redefining what rest means. Rest is not always stopping. Sometimes, rest is doing things without pressure, walking without purpose, listening without analyzing, being present without improving anything. You don't need to be productive to deserve rest. You don't need to earn your calm. Calm is your natural state when you stop pushing. Another important practice is letting go of emotional explanations. You don't need to explain why you feel tired. You don't need to justify why you need space. Your needs do not require permission. When you stop explaining, you feel lighter. You stop negotiating with your own boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors you choose when to open. Caring less also means lowering emotional expectations. You stop expecting people to behave the way you would. You stop expecting situations to feel fair. Expectation creates tension. Acceptance creates peace. This does not make you passive. It makes you grounded. Grounded people are stable. They don't swing with every mood or opinion. They move slowly. They decide calmly. They recover faster when things go wrong. Over time, you begin to notice changes. Your sleep improves. Your mind feels clearer. You laugh more easily. You take things less personally. Life does not become perfect, but it becomes manageable. And manageable is peaceful. The most important practice is being gentle when you fail. Because you will fail. You will care too much sometimes. You will overthink again. You will react. And that is human. Don't punish yourself. Simply notice, breathe, return. Caring less is not about control. It is about compassion. Compassion for your limits. Compassion for your pace. You are learning to live lighter, to carry less, to trust that you don't need to hold everything together. Life continues even when you loosen your grip. And often, it feels kinder when you do. This slower way of living does not make you fall behind. It brings you back to yourself. And that is never a loss. In the next part, we'll talk about how to keep this calm during difficult conversations and stressful moments. I'll talk more about this in the full video. One of the hardest parts about caring less is the guilt. Not the fear, not the habit, the guilt. You begin to pull back, you create space, you protect your energy, and then a quiet voice appears. It says, "Am I being selfish? Am I becoming cold? Am I disappointing people?" This voice is very common, especially in people who have been kind for a long time, people who listen, people who give, people who adjust themselves to keep peace. For them, caring less does not feel natural, it feels wrong, because they were taught that being good means being available, being helpful, being understanding, being patient no matter the cost. So when they begin to choose themselves, their nervous system reacts. It feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar often feels unsafe. This is where many people stop. They return to old patterns, not because those patterns are healthy, but because they feel known. Let's slow this down. Caring less does not mean you care less about people. It means you care more about your capacity. Your emotional capacity is not infinite. When you ignore this, kindness turns into resentment, giving turns into exhaustion, and compassion turns into obligation. That is not kindness. That is self-erasure. There is an important difference you need to understand. Caring less is not emotional detachment. Detachment is numb. It disconnects. Caring less is conscious choice. It stays warm, but it stays boundaried. You still feel, you still care. You just stop sacrificing yourself to prove it. Guilt appears because your old identity is dissolving. The identity of the one who always responds, the one who always explains, the one who always carries more. Your system learned that love equals effort, that acceptance must be earned. So when effort decreases, the mind panics. It thinks, if I don't do more, I will lose connection. But real connection does not require exhaustion. If a relationship only survives when you overgive, it is not balanced. And balance is not cruelty. Balance is sustainability. You are not abandoning people by resting. You are not betraying anyone by choosing calm. You are simply returning responsibility to where it belongs. Everyone is responsible for their own emotions, including you. Another source of guilt comes from empathy. You feel what others feel. You sense disappointment even when no one says it. You imagine reactions. You anticipate sadness. So you step in early. You soften things. You over-explain. This is emotional labor, and doing it constantly is exhausting. Empathy does not mean absorbing everything. Healthy empathy has distance. It understands without drowning. When you stop carrying guilt, something important happens. You stop rushing to fix discomfort. You allow people to feel their feelings, and you allow yourself to stay steady. This does not damage relationships. It clarifies them. Some connections deepen. Some drift. And that is natural. You are not meant to be everything to everyone. Releasing guilt is not about hardening your heart. It is about trusting it. Trusting that your worth does not disappear when you say no. Trusting that rest does not make you lazy. Trusting that boundaries do not make you unlovable. This trust takes time. Some days you will feel peaceful. Other days, you will feel uneasy for no clear reason. That is part of rewiring. Your nervous system is learning a new pattern. A pattern where safety comes from within, not from approval. When guilt arises, don't fight it. Notice it. Breathe. Say quietly, "I'm allowed to protect my energy." Say it again. The more you practice, the softer the guilt becomes. Eventually, it fades, and in its place, something steadier appears. Self-respect. Self-respect is quiet. It does not explain itself. It does not argue. It simply chooses what feels aligned. This is the moment you stop confusing being good with being depleted. You realize that caring less is not loss. It is alignment. And alignment feels calm. In the next part, we'll talk about how to handle people and conversations when you start caring less, especially when others push, question, or misunderstand you. I'll talk more about this in the full video. When you start caring less, people notice, not because you say anything, but because your energy changes. You reply slower, you explain less, you react with more calm. And this often makes others uncomfortable. Some will ask, "Are you okay?" Some will say, "You've changed." Some will push, "Why are you so quiet lately?" These moments can pull you back into old habits. The habit of explaining, the habit of defending, the habit of reassuring everyone. This is where caring less is truly tested. You don't need new arguments. You need new responses. Or sometimes, no response at all. When someone demands an explanation, pause. You don't owe access to your inner world. You can answer simply, "I'm just taking things slower." That is enough. You don't need to give details. Details invite negotiation. When someone misunderstands you, notice the urge to correct the story. Ask yourself, will explaining bring peace or prolong the tension? Often, misunderstanding fades when it is not fed. Silence lets things settle. When someone pulls you into emotional drama, stay grounded. You don't need to match intensity. You can stay calm even when others are loud. This does not make you distant. It makes you stable. Stability can feel unfamiliar to people used to chaos. They may push harder, not because you are wrong, but because the old dynamic is changing. You are no longer regulating their emotions, and that feels strange to them. When conversations become heavy, you can choose short, kind boundaries. "I don't have the energy for this conversation right now." This is not rejection. This is honesty. You are not responsible for how others react to your boundaries. Boundaries are not punishments. They are information. They tell people how to treat you. Another important shift is letting conversations end. You don't need to bring everything to a resolution. Some conversations end unfinished. And that is okay. Closure does not always come from words. Sometimes, closure comes from acceptance. When someone tries to provoke a reaction, do less. Less explanation, less defense, less emotion. Calm presence is powerful. It shows that you are not easily shaken. You don't need to convince anyone of your growth. People feel it over time. There will be moments when you feel tempted to go back, to over-explain, to apologize unnecessarily, to smooth everything out. Notice that urge. It often comes from fear of disconnection. But connection built on self-abandonment is not safe. Real connection can hold space for silence. It can hold different emotions without collapse. As you practice this, you may notice something surprising. Some people respect you more. Others fade away. Both outcomes are information. You are learning who can meet you at this calmer level and who cannot. This is not loss. This is alignment. Caring less changes the way you show up. You listen more. You speak with intention. You walk away when things feel draining. Your life becomes less noisy. Your relationships become clearer. In the next part, we'll step back and look at the bigger picture. A slower life. A quieter philosophy. A way of living that stays peaceful even when the world is demanding. I'll talk more about this in the full video. At some point, you begin to see your life differently, not as something to manage constantly, but as something to move through with care. You no longer rush to fix every feeling. You no longer panic when things feel uncertain. You trust your pace. This is what a slower life really means. Not doing less, but doing things with less inner resistance. You stop fighting moments. You stop labeling everything as good or bad. You allow life to unfold. A slower life is not passive. It is intentional. You choose where your attention goes. You choose how much you engage. You choose when to step back. And these choices are quiet. They don't need announcements. They don't need explanations. They are felt in the way you breathe, in the way you walk, in the way you speak. You notice how little you actually need to feel content. A calm morning, a few honest conversations, time to think, time to rest. The desire to impress fades, the urge to compare softens. You stop measuring your life by external markers. Instead, you ask gentler questions. Do I feel grounded? Do I feel clear? Do I feel at peace with the direction I'm taking? Progress no longer feels rushed. It feels aligned. In a slower life, success looks different. It looks like energy at the end of the day. It looks like sleep that comes easily. It looks like conversations that don't leave you drained. You realize how much strength there is in not reacting, in letting things pass, in trusting silence. The world will not slow down for you. It will continue to move fast, to demand attention, to pull you outward. But you don't need to follow that pace. You can live differently within the same world. A slower life is not an escape. It is a choice to stay present, to stay regulated, to stay connected to yourself. When pressure increases, you return to simplicity. One breath at a time, one decision at a time. You remember that you don't need to be everywhere. You don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to prove your worth. Your value is not created by urgency. It exists in your being. Caring less over time creates space. Space for joy. Space for depth. Space for meaning. You become selective not because you're tired, but because you're awake. Awake to what matters. Awake to what nourishes you. Awake to what drains you. And you choose accordingly. This way of living is not loud. It will not impress everyone, but it will sustain you. And in the long run, that is what matters. A life that does not burn you out. A mind that feels like home. A heart that is not constantly bracing. This is the quiet reward of caring less. Not emptiness, but peace. Not distance, but clarity. And clarity changes everything. Take this with you as you move through your days. Slowly, gently, at your own pace. I'll talk more about this in the full video,